get straight into it. The Centre for Child Law in Section 27 want the court to retry 2 teachers found guilty of assaulting pupils. Pupils aged between 7 and 10 were given corporal punishment back in 2015, and the group say the sanctions imposed on Khutso Sathege and Vangile Mkwena is shockingly lenient. The groups are taking the South African Council for Teachers, or Educators rather, to court. But for more on this, the council's CEO, that is of course Ella Mokgalane, speaks to us all the way from Pretoria. Ella, thank you so much for your time, and good morning to you. Let's talk about this particular case and the merits of this case, particularly when it comes to corporal punishment. What's your stance? Ella, I think you're muted. I can't hear you. May you just check for me if you haven't muted yourself, please? There you are. I can hear you.
Fine?
Yes, we're fine.
We're
Thanks.
fine.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Timelo, and good morning to the eNCA viewers. Let me start off by indicating that it's going to be difficult for us as SACE to talk about the merits, but we can talk about the case broadly. One of the things that I need to bring to the viewers' attention is that SACE has got sanctions that are regulated by the South African Council for Educators Act in terms of Section 5C, but also we've got a policy on mandatory sanctions. And this case was had in 2019, if I'm not, 2019, and we had independent presiding officers that went through the case. And in our own understanding and in line with our procedures and processes, we strongly feel that the sanction that has been meted out fits the misconduct that has been done, and even more importantly, it has been meted out in line with the policy on mandatory sanctions that we have. When what we did as council was to even review that particular policy in the last year to say, let's distinguish between minor cases that have been conducted by educators when as far as corporal punishment is concerned, but also have the serious ones where you'll have serious injuries. And we then have a sanction for strike off if the case is very serious, the child has been injured and all that. And we also have, on the other side, if the case is minor, we then have a sanction that is struck off but suspended for a particular period. In addition to that, you will then have a fine that ranges around 15,000 to 20,000 rand. So in this case, the sanction was the one around struck off. However, that struck off suspended for a period, and there was a fine that was linked to that particular sanction.
What do you make of Section 27 taking you to court? They're not satisfied with how this particular case involving these 2 children or minors or students were handled, especially the teachers. They say they've received leniency in this regard. What's your response, or rather your reaction to them, of course, taking this on in court?
As council, we disagree with that. They've got the right to review the council sanctions. Remember, in a democratic country, our processes are democratic. Once we've muted out the sanction, any other public member or any other organization has got the right to review that sanction in the High Court. However, from council, we are challenging that because we feel that in line with our policies, our presiding officers did what they're supposed to be was supposed to be done. They followed the policy to the T, and they've also followed that in line with Section 5C of the SACE Act, which is talking to that particular sanction. However, we'll wait for, remember the matter is still before the judge in court. We are going back in June on around the 13th to the 17th, so that the presiding officers can also be joined to the case and be in a position to deal with the matter accordingly.
All right. Well, of course, it's the time I had with you this morning, but thank you so much for speaking to us and, I suppose, giving us context from the South African Councils of, for Educators' perspective. That's the CEO, Ella Mokgalane.